This is the Business Storytelling Show, a top global marketing podcast listened to in more than 100 countries, live streamed on social media, and broadcast on DBTV. Christoph Trapp chats with industry leaders to help your company tell better business stories.
Hey, business storytellers, how's everyone doing? It's just me today for episode 717, and I want to talk about, is copywriting actually a good idea, a good career, and a good idea to spend your life doing? Now, it's interesting to me, copywriting, just like copy editing, have changed so much. I mean, when I first started in my writing career as a journalist, very, very different. I mean, we had notepads, right, to take notes. And then all of a sudden we had audio recorders. I mean, we had some obviously a little bit earlier even, but I mean, very different from just having our iPhone with us, and then transcribing things and literally just throwing them into Otter to be transcribed, and then maybe even getting um, a draft, of the content, or outlining it in a way that makes sense. All these different things. So the way content writers work today, it has really changed. I mean, you can even do voice dictation. You can write on the keyboard. I know there's many people out there that they like the feeling, right? The feeling that the act of writing gives them. But of course, I like to remind everyone that just, it's not a hobby, it's a job. And certainly there is many expectations from executives today, from people today. And one of them is to always move faster and faster and faster. If I think of how long it took me back in the day to write one piece of content, I mean, it was like, a week project. And today, there is expectation sometimes, or I mean, from my side too, but I see it out in the marketplace, to turn stuff quicker and quicker. Now, quality cannot suffer, of course. But what's quality anyways? Is the content performing? Is it working? Is it unique enough? And I think that's where some of those things come in on when it comes to new skills. For example, I know there's many copywriters out there that just kind of write from a brief, or they research it online, or whatever. And that's really, really hard. I mean, especially when it comes to SEO copywriting, or really anything to make somebody stand out. You have to talk to the people that are involved. You have to talk to the stakeholders. You have to talk to really anyone that can give us some insights into what we even should be writing about. Because most copywriters, especially out of the gate, are not the experts at the industry they're in. And that's an interesting dilemma as well, because you see a lot of freelance copywriters, for example, and they, they're in a specific industry. So that's a great strategy. And the more you know the industry, the better you will be at that industry, obviously, especially if you're a good writer. But how do you figure out what industry you want to be in, right? Do you just work for software companies, for B2B SaaS, I mean, just for whatever? But the interesting thing on that too is, not every SaaS company is the same, right? I mean, sure, software as a service, but somebody in one industry versus another, sure, they're both SaaS, but if you don't know the industry, you can't write about them. But let's look at some of the numbers here. I pulled them up over on LinkedIn, and let me share my tab. So there it is. Hopefully you can see that. I'm going to flip that around. So when we look at the number of jobs currently posted for copywriter only, there's only 1,516. That is not a lot of jobs. I mean, we don't need to even talk about that, right? That's clearly not a lot of jobs. And then when we switch that to copywriting, see, this is the problem, right? There is a job with a title, copywriter, but then there's also copywriting. And when you do that, you get 20,000 hits. Now, that's still not a ton of jobs, but it's more. So when you look at those results, let's see how many. I mean, obviously, there's only 1,500 copywriter jobs, but there's 20,423 results for copywriting. So basically, they include the word copywriting. So here we have a senior copywriter. We'll look at that in a minute. I'm going to just open that here in another tab. Then we have chief content officer, marketing content lead, content strategist, vice president of communication and marketing, social media manager and sales marketing specialist, senior content strategist. So part of the problem is too that copywriting can fit into a lot of different roles. I mean, like, for example, chief content officer might be okay, might make sense, but vice president of communication and marketing, I mean, according to this, that person still makes 150 to 200,000, but they're also doing a lot of other things. And the one thing I think that's very easy to forget, not for the copywriters, but really anyone else, is that copywriting takes time, even when you use tools to speed it up. But there certainly is always something that you need to focus on. So, okay, let's look at the senior copywriter role here. So just to give us an idea of what the job descriptions look like, we have senior copywriter, New York, see over 100 applicants, hybrid. Why? Why? Not to pick on these people, but why does it need to be hybrid? You can write anywhere. Like, I write at home just as fine, and probably better than I'm writing if I'm sitting somewhere in an office and people keep interrupting me. So, okay, let's look at the job. No ordinary generic copywriters, please. Because that's exactly how people think of themselves, right? I'm like, oh, I'm just an ordinary generic copywriter. Okay, I will not apply. I mean, who thinks of themselves like that? Seriously. You're a master wordsmith that makes anything sound expensive and highly desirable without the use of fancy thesaurusy words. When people read your work, they blow a chef's kiss in lieu of cringing and eye rolling. If this is you, apply immediately. VM blah, blah, blah is a leading creative agency in New York, developing branding, content creation, digital storytelling, and performance marketing for high profile and leading brands in the beauty, fine jewelry, fashion, fine food, blah, 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 blah. Develop copy for both big idea campaigns and comprehensive brand developments. Key messaging, slogans, copy for marketing materials, including ads, emails, digital, blah, blah, blah. So, of course, when we think about these kind of roles, it's some of those. I mean, that's a wide range if you really think about it. I do have an article over on christophtrapp.com that talks about marketing materials. What's up when somebody says, oh, what are the marketing materials? And a lot of times what I found is these are words that we used to use way more often, even though it's still in this job posting today. But we used to use them back in the day, right? Like, what are the marketing materials? Because it was basically a trifold brochure, or it was a printout, or it was whatever, something physical, typically. Today, there's so much digital stuff going on. To me, it seems very strange to call something that's digital marketing material. I mean, it's like, it's an asset, it's a campaign, So the way I phrased that whole story, that whole article, is the chances are somebody who's been in that previous world with me and others, they basically, that's what they're referring to. So really any marketing asset. But when you look at the marketing assets, marketing materials, including ads, emails, digital and physical assets. I mean, so that, like, basically, in other words, anything and everything, digital and physical. I mean, billboards. So it could be anything. By the way, billboards for the right products, they do actually still work, right? Because people can see them when they're driving. I mean, so it depends what it is. But I like them when it makes sense. But my point here is, copywriting for a billboard is very different from copywriting for an ad online. Same kind of length maybe in the copy, but it's not super similar. I mean, sure, creativity, getting to the point, blah, blah, blah. But I think on a billboard, so when you have an ad, so here's the example. So when you have an ad on the web, it doesn't let you just go on and on and on, right? Like you fill it in Google when you start the ad, or LinkedIn or wherever, and you know how much space you have, and you're going to see a preview right then. Well, on a billboard, you're going to see a preview too. You can certainly design it or have a designer design it. So this is another thing on text ads or many ad types now. You can just use the system and type it in, and kind of brainstorm from there. Big fan of always doing everything in the system, whether it's WordPress, whether it's the ad platform, so you can see what you're actually doing. Very, very easy to go overboard with the different with the sizes, right? So if you don't, this is the problem back in the day when people like would write tweets. I'm not even on X anymore today. Don't use it. Used to be a big part of my strategy also for clients and such. But people would write tweets and then they review them, and then people edit them in a Word document, for example. And guess what? They were too long because you don't have that boundary, right? And even if you count them, it's just like it takes brain power away from thinking about being creative. So there's all these different things. And I think that's another thing for copywriters that can be hard in some companies is, what's the workflow? Are you spending more time to stay in touch with the workflow, or are you spending more time actually copywriting? Some people might argue that it doesn't, it's all necessary. And maybe it is, but some of it certainly is. But the amount of time we have to spend on all these different things, it is important to think about that. It is important to make sure the time exists. Now, that's a lot of different things. Brand pillars, brand narratives, and taglines. So that's strategy. So this was actually a senior copywriter role. It could be a content strategist, quite frankly. Contribute to cross-channel creative ideation, blah, blah, blah. Use your expertise as a data insight-driven storyteller to elevate your asset you touch. That's an interesting one, right? Because some of the things we can measure, some of the things we can't measure. And if you're creating a campaign across all these different things, so now as a senior copywriter, is it your job too to look at the numbers, to find the metrics? Can be a bear when it's multi-touch, all these different channels, online, offline. And I was speaking at a conference. I don't remember where. I want to say San Diego, maybe. And I was talking about digital analysis, and somebody said, who should do the digital analysis of all these things, or who should look at the numbers? Everybody should look at the numbers, but who's analyzing the things? That's entire jobs in some companies, right? So hopefully what in this job description, what they mean is that there is somebody who puts it all together. There's a dashboard, whatever, and you can look at it, very easy to understand. And so that's kind of, I think, important. Perfectionist when it comes to editing, grammar, and proofreading. Now, what I do hope, first of all, proofreading, tools like Grammarly, are super helpful when it comes to that. And perfectionism is an interesting thing to talk about, because what's perfectionism? Is this episode perfect? I don't know. I stumbled a couple times already. Are we going to lose sleep over it? No. Are we going to feel bad over it? No. Of course, when you make a mistake on a billboard, you feel bad about it way differently than a typo on an ad, which you can fix in a half a second. But perfectionism is so hard, if not impossible. In fact, I do think it holds people back. I do think it stops us from getting stuff done. Seth Godin talked about that on when he was on the show way back when. But it's perfectionism that's a hard one. Editing, grammar, always super important, but also writing should be in there because senior copywriter. So not really critiquing the job ad, just wanted to take a quick look at what are the job postings. What do they look like today? Okay, qualifications, 5 to 7 plus years, ability to deliver on strategic marketing initiatives while championing brand voice, tone, and direction, experience collaboration with designers and interacting with multiple stakeholders, analytical thinker with experience in data-driven marketing. So this data-driven marketing, we will see that more and more. So, when I talk to writers, I hear a lot of production, a lot of creation, and that's what my career has been too. I mean, certainly I've looked at some of those other things and figured out, how to look for results and drive results. But the whole thing of looking at the metrics, and even before we create content, like this whole episode is based on you all are searching for this. You all are looking for the answers. And I wanted to see if I can answer it a little bit, whether it's completely or I cover every angle that you're looking for. I don't know. I'll do my best. But, the idea came out because a lot of you are searching for, is copywriting a good career? And I'll answer that question in a second. Experience using insights and strategic thinking to, interest, ability to communicate the benefit of marketing to business audiences of all levels. So, I mean, mixing things a little bit here, but I mean, I get it, right? That's usually an account manager or like the strategist or whatever. So, is it a copywriter? Is it a strategist? Is it a data analyst? Is it what? So, I think a lot of these roles nowadays, they go together. So, copywriter does wear a lot of hats. And sometimes it's, it's just kind of baked into some other roles. I mean, just for fun, let's look at copywriting. So what was one? Okay, now copywriting was the other term, right? Yeah, that was the term. Okay, that was the one with the more results, 20,000. So let's see. Here's one: senior content strategist, 120,000 to 150,000, and this is remote, full time. Okay, so let's take a look, see what's different. If I open this in another tab, it's a little easier to see, I think. Okay, so here we have it. Tells us about the company, human-powered security, harnessing the creativity of the world's largest community of security researchers with cutting-edge AI to protect your digital assets. Okay. Remote location or one of these metro areas. Okay. They're seeking a senior content strategist to elevate our content efforts and drive engagement across the customer journey. The strategic yet hands-on role requires a seasoned professional who can develop and execute a comprehensive content strategy tailored to our B2B technology audience with focus on measurable impact and alignment with business goals. The ideal candidate will have a deep understanding of content marketing, audience insights, data-driven decision-making, and experience working cross-functionally to deliver high-quality, impactful content. Additionally, this role requires proficiency in using AI tools to scale content creation and maximize efficiency. Like this whole thing about using AI tools to maximize creation, I mean, it's very interesting. So let me just show you a couple here, or a couple that I use all the time. Otter AI, the code right there on the top in the corner, you can scan that. I use that for my transcripts all the time. And it's so easy. It gives me summaries, it gives me an overview. Definitely would recommend that. And then we have video clips from Opus. So like a lot of times what I do is I take these episodes and I'll throw them in there and then hack them up. And their AI is pretty fantastic. Now, the other one, which maybe a copywriter might not use, but maybe they would because they are creating clones basically of executives, of speakers, whatever. So AI avatars, hey Jen, this is a really nice tool. You can create an avatar of yourself, and then basically you just write the copy and it can create video clips of you or whoever talking about them. So kind of interesting to see. But so when I compare these two job descriptions, though, what's the difference? Right? Like this one is more about the writing, right? But this one is more about the strategy, but yet you're also going to be hands-on, probably copywriting. And so it's like they're very similar. It's just like how you lead into it to an extent. And then, okay, let's see how this one differs from the other one. Develop and execute a comprehensive content strategy aligned with business goals. Okay, that's more about the strategy. Collaborate cross-functionally with marketing. So the other role has that too. Create content that drives measurable results using data analytics to refine and optimize strategy. How do you create content, my friends? How? By copywriting or writing or whatever. But at some point, some words have to hit the page. Okay, and then the other stuff, we already kind of talked about. So my point is, can it be a good career? Are there actually enough jobs out there? And then I did look at how many people are currently on LinkedIn and have copywriter in their title, and there's 732. So clearly, if there's any reduction in jobs, I mean, there's clearly not enough jobs out there that people could find and hop to. So, but if you do copywriting and you look at people, that's 4 million people. 4 million. That is crazy. How many people on LinkedIn? Okay, 1 billion. So that's still a big chunk more. But 4 million people have copywriting into their in their job on LinkedIn. Now, we need copywriters. We need people creating the content that draws people in, that gets people to connect with our brand, to buy things, to connect with us, to become part of our community. But there aren't that many jobs, and there aren't that many jobs that only focus on copywriting. So is copywriting a good career? It can be for some people. I think the jobs are becoming harder and harder to get. I think there's more and more added to them when we compare them to, copywriters of the past. But if you can figure out, just like I talk about in my book, is marketing a good career? If you can find the right company, the right culture, the right industry, the right environment, it could be a great job. But just keep in mind that there's more and more expectations, for lack of a better term. There's always been expectations, but different expectations. More things are being asked of really anyone, but copywriters as well. Good luck with everything, and I'm out.
Thanks for tuning in. Please rate and review the Business Storytelling Show on your favorite podcast platform, and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. See you then.